Welcome to Our Pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who are doing a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now we are shiting on the Wheel of Time, and we are covering the second half of The Towers of Midnight by Robert Jordan and Brando Sando. But before we get into Brando Sando, but before we get into that, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Hannah, there's this new, well, it's not necessarily a new show, but it's new to me show on Netflix called Old Enough. They just put it on Netflix, and it's a Japanese show, reality show, I guess. But these people send their toddlers out on tasks, and they complete them. And I'm so conflicted by the show. The shows are only like 7 minutes long, the episodes, and so it's extremely consumable. But I'm so conflicted because these kids want to help their families so bad with things. Like the kids will say, or the parents will say to them, "Can you go get groceries for us? Because mommy can't leave. She has to be here with your younger sister because she has a cold." And they're like, "Yes, I want to help. I want to help." Or they'll say, "Can you take this down to your dad at work because he can't work without this?" And at first one of them was like, "No, I don't really want to do it without you." And the mom was like, "You don't want dad to not be able to work, do you?" And she was like, "No, I want him to be able to work." And so
psychologically damaging.
These kids like walk miles to do some of these tasks. There was this one little girl, I think they said she was 3. And the mother sent her on a task she had like woven a little hat, and she sent her on a task to take this hat and put it on a statue. And then she was supposed to deliver a like belly band, like one of those pregnancy belly bands, to a friend. And then she was supposed to go to a cabbage patch and pick a couple onions and a cabbage and then come back. This child she walked over a mile doing this. If she would have done it in a different order, she might have been done a little faster. But
don't judge this child, Laura. Oh my god!
I'm not judging her. They were kind of like showing the path that she was taking, and they're like, "Okay, well, she passed by the statue. If she would have went there first and not doubled back." But it was like the cutest thing because she got all the way to this cabbage patch, and the mom had already picked the cabbage and the onions and put them in a shed, and you could see them, but she forgot that that's where they were. So she thought she had to go pick them out of the patch up there. So she picks these onions, she gets them picked, and they were big. And then she goes over to the cabbage, and she's so small she like can't get it, and she's twisting and twisting and twisting it. They do like a cutaway, and they're like, 20 minutes later, it's getting dark, and she's still twisting this. We're considering having a cameraman help her. And right when they were going to send one of the cameramen in to help her twist it off, then she gets it. And so then she's walking back home in the dark, and she's like saying to herself, "My mommy's going to be so mad at me. She's going to wonder where I've been." I'm like laughing because this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. But also I'm like, 3-year-olds should not be doing this.
Just imagining my little niece trying to do those things, and it's breaking my heart.
Honestly, you have to watch the show. It's very conflicting because it's like, it's not necessarily heartbreaking. It's more like I'm conflicted because this is a lot of responsibility for a child. But at the same time, the way that they want to help and genuinely are wanting to do these things, you feel like, oh my gosh, good for you. I feel like empowered by them because they're like so eager to help and be part of the family and to help out with tasks. It's amazing to me.
That's so
this one girl, she had to walk like all the way downtown to the shops and get like a long list of things. Like her mom said, "Okay, now I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and I need this." It was like 6 or 7 things, and she got all of them. She remembered all of them. But then she also bought a fish head, and she brought it back, and she was like so proud of herself that she remembered all the things. And then the mom was like, "Why did you get this?" And she said, "It has a cute face."
That's very
cute. This is
cute.
what happens when we send 3-year-olds.
Yeah, obviously. 3-year-olds out to do shopping.
You have to watch it though. I mean, 7-minute episodes. I'm probably not describing it well enough because I feel like you're disturbed by this, but
I'm incredibly disturbed by this.
It's kind of a really cute show. I don't know how to better describe it, but
I don't know either, but it disturbs me.
I have really liked it so far. I've watched several episodes of it. Like every now and then I was just like, I'm going to take a break from what I'm doing and watch one of these episodes. And it's so cute.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're liking it. Have you been reading anything?
Okay, so besides Towers of Midnight, I read 2 graphic novels. One was Blackbird, Volume 1, and it was by, let me pull it up because I like to get the artist in this too. So it was by Sam Humphries, and then the artist was, or illustrator was Jen Bartel, come at me with correct pronunciation. That one, so I put like a short review of it on my Bookstagram, but it's a story about a girl, a woman named Nina, and she's recently undergone not recently, she underwent like a really traumatic experience. A storm like came through their town and like bad things happened. And then like her mother passed away. And so then you're flashing back and forth between the time of that traumatic experience and like the present day where she's dealing with that past and then also dealing with a lot of family dynamics that are not great. And then she's trying to figure out if this magical world that she believes in is actually real or if it's made up. And then her sister is kidnapped and she has to go find her sister. And so, and it's like a magical beast that kidnaps her sister.
Okay.
I feel like the pieces are all there for me, but it's so rushed that I was getting confused.
Got it.
And I kind of wish they would have stretched it out a little more and given more details. The art is really great. It's really beautiful to look at, but the story itself, I'm just like
a little bit of a mess
confused because things jump forward too quickly, or I'm not getting enough pieces. To put the story together at this point. Maybe in volume 2, it's connected more, that it would make more sense to me. But
I think
at this point, I'm like, the story is not fleshed out enough. I feel like the idea is definitely there and the characters are strong. I'm interested in the characters. I'm interested in the story itself, but there's not enough there. It's not enough.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think sometimes that happens with me with graphic novels because sometimes I'm not as detail oriented as you are. Mm-hmm. And so like it's harder for me to pick up on the graphics in a graphic novel. And so I understand what you're saying. And I think that's interesting that this particular book felt a little bit more. I mean, there wasn't enough there.
I guess I don't have a lot to compare it to because I haven't read a ton of graphic novels. And like the ones that I've really enjoyed have been kind of like mostly sweet, happy ones like Heartstopper or Nimona, where it's like really easy to kind of pick up on the story. But when you get into some of these fantasy ones, it's a lot harder to understand the story unless it's very detailed.
That's fair. I think that's very fair.
The other graphic novel I read was by Wayde Compton. It's called The Blue Road. And it's supposed to be a take on immigration. And it was very interesting. And it's about a girl named Lacuna, and she grows up in this swamp and then has to travel to a northern kingdom. And there's like all these really odd things that happen to her along the way. And she's trying to make the path easier for other people to get to this place. And then when she's finally in this place, there's all these strange rules and regulations for people that aren't born in the Northern Kingdom. And it's very interesting. But the thing I hated about this book was it ended so abruptly.
All of a sudden it was like, okay, I'm done.
It was. I was reading along. I'm like, okay, like all this stuff is happening. And then all of a sudden I turn the page and like, it says epilogue. I'm like, what? Epilogue? How can it be done? So I really liked it, except why did they make it that
interesting
sudden?
Yeah.
So that was my reading this week. But I think the Blue Road was really good and people should read it. The art in it is, I don't know if soothing is the right word, but the colors are not necessarily jarring like some graphic novels that I've kind of seen recently. Whereas like when I was reading Blackbird, the colors are like very neon and bright. This was softer palette.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Interesting.
And so it was kind of relaxing to read that one. I read it last night and
that's nice.
Yeah, it's short. It was like 150 or 60 pages or something like that. So it was not that long. But yeah, that's one I would definitely recommend to people. So
add it to your list, everyone.
Yeah. Hannah, what have you been reading, watching, and enjoying?
So I just got back from vacation in Portland where I visited Veronica of Ronnie Reads regularly, our number one fan. And miss her already. I just flew back. Literally. Mm-hmm. So we spent the entire week doing a theme of what we called Thirstenland 2022, which is we just read a bunch of we just watched a bunch of Jane Austen adaptions with each other.
Oh, cool.
So it started with the Pride and Prejudice miniseries because she thought I was doing a bit when I was doing my Mrs. Bennet voice. And then we watched it and she was like,
actually sounds like.
No, that's just a really spot on impression, Hannah. You just know exactly what key of voice.
She sounds like that.
She just sounds like that. And so we watched that. And then we turned to, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember how like things devolved, but like we saw Bride and Prejudice, which is a Bollywood movie, which does not hold up as what I loved growing up because you realize that Darcy is the king of microaggressions because he is white and he visits India and he makes a bunch of insensitive comments. But he quote unquote grows, so it's okay. It's a joke. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. And then we also saw the Emma period from 2020 because it's a period piece, which we made jokes about the entire time. And then we also saw oh god, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Austenland.
I think I've seen that where she like dresses up and goes to this place and then ends up falling in love with this place that like does reenactments.
Yeah, it's incredibly campy.
Yeah.
And like Veronica had seen it a million times and there's just so many jokes we came out with all of these.
It's a cute movie, honestly.
It's so cute, guys. Okay, so I actually might just write a blog post like reviewing all the movies we saw and adaptions we saw because it might just be it's so fun. And there were so many things like there's a scene in this, like, okay, Austenland is incredibly camp, guys. Yeah. But there's one moment where a woman goes, now that we are bosom friends. And Veronica and I just kept saying that to each other all weekend. We also watched the Sense and Sensibility miniseries.
With Dan Stevens.
I believe so. Is that the miniseries one? Yeah, that sounds
from
right.
Downton Abbey fame.
Yes.
Oh, I've also seen
that.
That.
Yeah, I loved that one. And we watched the 1996 Emma with Kate Beckinsale. And we broke Veronica's boyfriend's brain because he's like, Kate Beckinsale looks too different. I can't. It's like, she's just young. But I got like, I've told Veronica and Laura about this weird dream sequence in the Kate Beckinsale Emma where she goes, but what about little Henry? And so Veronica got to see that scene and she said it quote unquote lived up to the hype. So everyone should watch that. We also watched Death Comes to Pemberley, which was fine. And weirdly, the second movie with someone hissing at another human being.
Oh, random.
And the other one made more sense, but we watched a bunch of different things. It was a ton of fun. I got to hike up a mountain, got to see some Japanese gardens. I got to drink Dutch Bros 3 days in a row, and it's life-changing cold brew. They have like a soft top. Well, it's like a coffee that has like a soft top, it's called, but it's like pretty much just like a whipped cream marshmallowy top that's like incredibly sweet. And you mix it and it's amazing. And I fell in love, and they don't have them here. So I am lost forever. But we did all of that.
Person, but I'll take
it's not really marsh. I would say the consistency, like the texture is very melted marshmallow, but I wouldn't say the taste is marshmallow. The taste is more sugary sweet. I would say it's more whipped cream, but like a different consistency of whipped cream. It's so good.
I don't like whipped cream.
I
I
can't help
don't like
you.
frosting or whipped cream or any of that stuff.
You're wrong, but okay.
I'm not. It's
we
terrible.
I'm gonna put up a poll, and I'm pretty sure you're wrong.
It's terrible. It tastes bad. It's too sugary. Just eat cake instead. Don't eat the frosting.
I'm so sorry, you're so wrong. We also watched Northanger Abbey with that also had JJ Field in it from Thirstenland. And when I tell you that, like, JJ Field had a weird thing where he would like smile and look down at Felicity Jones in such a weird way. It was like, and so Veronica and I just kept doing that head movement. It's so weird. People watch it. It's one of like Austen's underrated novels, because it's very weird. It's like a character who reads too many novels, like gothic novels, so she like thinks she's in a novel and like gets whipped up, and she like visits a very scary like gothic abbey, and it's a very random one, but I would also say is a little bit campy for Austen. And then we also watched the Mansfield Park with Billy Piper, is it, from Doctor Who? And that was terrible. It was so bad. I hated it. Mansfield Park is my like least favorite Austen anyway. So, you know, it was bad. They're just the most boring characters. It's just like, what if we had a character who was just good and kind of boring, and she fell in love with her cousin? That's pretty much it. So we did all that. I went to Powell's bookstore and spent way too much money on books. I paid to have them shipped home, so I wouldn't have to figure out how to stuff them all in my suitcase, because I bought 12 books. Wow. Veronica was a bad influence on me, but it's a used bookstore, so most of them were used books. It just makes sense. And I like told people about our podcast in the shelves, because I've convinced Ronnie reads regularly and Ben from Literature and Lo-Fi to read the Priority of the Orange Tree with me next month, because I'm going to be doing a mega May where I only read really thick novels. So people should join along for that.
I'm doing maybe this time May where I'm reading books that I stopped reading for whatever reason that I liked, but I just was not in the headspace for them. So maybe this time.
It is going to be #May at the Hour Pod. Guys, you should participate either in the Maybe May or the Mega May, and we will see how that goes. But so we bought a lot of books, and while I was there, I read a book that I pulled from Veronica's shelf. It was like the perfect vacation book. It was called Necessary People by Anna Petoniak. And it's like about a girl. It's a very 2019 book where it's like a girl who's kind of shy and bookish becomes friends with like this elusive party girl who's awesome and everyone's obsessed with, and she's kind of obsessed with. And that was a very specific trend that was around for a while in books. I think it was because a lot of millennial women started writing books, and they were like, I was bookish, but I wish I were cool, but I'm not going to write about being cool. I'm going to be writing about being bookish. You know, it's a very specific trend.
Yeah, it sounds like a very How to Be Single type.
Yes, exactly. So like in the book, she like starts working for a media company, and she's like kind of getting a good role in it. And she's like pretty impressive, but also she's like living in a really nice Manhattan apartment with this friend, because the parents are kind of like subsidizing it for the two girls. But like it gets really weird, because like then the friend decides to kind of become a newscaster just like on a whim, and she's kind of like overshadowing the friend. And it's kind of like, it was a weird book. I wouldn't say it was good, but it was enjoyable, which I think was what I wanted for this book. Like, I don't think I walked into it being like, I think this is going to be really well written literature. I was like, this seems like it's going to be a romp of a book, and I don't have to think about it much.
I mean, like, that's nice to have, especially on vacation, where it's like, you don't always want to have super heavy reads where it's like, oh my gosh, I have to sit with this a while and think about all these things, or try to figure out what's going on. Sometimes it's nice to just have a read where it's like, okay, sometimes this isn't the best thing in the world, but you know what? I get what's happening, and it was what it was for its time.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like sometimes you want to watch the Lifetime movie when you're with friends. Like, so that's kind of what I would kind of put it as. And I mean, there was a whole scene where I was like, this falls apart, because at one point the friend's going to like interview a major pharmaceutical company vice president, but her dad works in pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, that's literally a conflict of interest. Like, they would run that through conflicts, and you would like, and they just never mention it. And I'm like, this
Not
doesn't
in the
make
book. They don't.
Well, they mentioned it earlier in the book where like, is it a conflict if she finds out about it? And they're like, I think it's above board because we're not involved with her. And then she does the interview and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. If you guys discussed how it was a conflict, how is it not still a conflict? It was just mind boggling.
Sure.
And like, it was one of those books where I wish like if it were an unreliable narrator, they'd made her more of an unreliable narrator or made her kind of worse in the book, because it kind of seems like she's like this innocent doe-eyed, except for in random parts. And you're just like, where did this come from? Like, it just didn't always make sense, but great vacation book. If people want like a nothing book that they're just like, I don't care, pick it up. Necessary People. Not too bad. Okay. I also read a book that's coming out. Let's see. It is coming out on April 12th. So, it will have been out yesterday. And that is called God of Neverland by Gamma Ray Martinez.
Oh yeah, that one looked kind of good.
It was good, not great.
Okay.
So I kind of like, it was a weird book because I really liked the premise. In parts, it was spectacular. And then in parts, it just kind of lost me. Like, it almost felt like Martinez sometimes became a little bit too self-aware of when there were plot holes. And he did a good job of being like, sometimes in Neverland, things don't make sense because it was built by the dreams of children and children don't make sense. And I'm like, cool, got it. We're on the same page. But then sometimes he would like almost talk himself out of using that. And then the characters would be like, this doesn't really make sense. And it's like, yes, but this is Neverland and a Neverland. And he almost like put a hat on a hat where I was like, this could be a throwaway line a couple of times. And then you can use that and like linguistically figure out ways to hint at like, oh, it's a land of children. So of course pirates came out and they got away, like there are ways to do it. And it just felt like sometimes he was a little bit like, he wasn't as authoritative with his own voice. And then in other parts, it just felt like he rushed so many plot points. Like they were so fast. I was getting whiplash. And then in some points I was like, why are we sitting with this for so long? Like, it's just so weird to have it all plotted out that way. And I kind of expected it to go into a different way, but because it's a series, he kind of let it continue on. And by the end of it, I'm like, I'm not even sure I'm interested in how this ended, because I think I just have to get to book 2 by this point. Like, it was just a little muddled. But it's a really great premise. The premise, guys, is like Michael Darling is all grown up and he worked for like the Secret Service that pretty much like went after mythical like creatures. And they find out that something captured, and like he's no longer, it's called like the Knights of the Round Table pretty much, because of course it is, but he was a knight. And you find out that 3 years ago he stopped being a knight, like because something happened to him. And they get pulled back in because someone kidnapped Peter Pan, who in this type of book is a god. And if he dies, like the dreams of children could die with him. And it's like very dangerous. So he's going after them because he's the only one who knows how to get back to Neverland, and they can't figure out a way without him. Spectacular premise. Some of it just felt a little, just like a little too rushed in places. But if that sounds great to you, at least read the first book. Cause like I may just be really off with this.
Yeah, I read the description on Goodreads and I was like, oh, this sounds really good, but I can see where that could get a little bit flat.
Yeah. I think again, it's like if it were a little bit more maybe that's it. It needed to be like a little bit more linguistically pleasing if you're going to do some of the things they were doing. Cause it just like, there were so many parts where I was like, yeah, I'm totally on board for like, of course things are happening this way. We're in the realm of children, but it almost felt like he got almost defensive about that plot point. And I was like,
interesting.
I'm not defensive. I don't need you to over-explain this. I'm here for it. Like, your premise is so good. Just let me have it. And don't try to convince me that it's worthwhile.
Right.
Yeah. So overall, it was good, but not great like I wanted. So those are the 2 books I read for the most part. I'm reading 2 other books right now, but we'll get into those when I've actually finished them. And now we can get into the second half of Towers of Midnight.
Let's finish it.
So we left off with Perrin because of course we did. So much Perrin, guys. Hannah realized she didn't want to continue listening to this book because it was just too much Perrin. Honestly, I'm just done with Perrin.
There is just a lot to deal with Perrin. I feel like where Jordan left off, and we're
dealing with a lot of.
Oh yeah, nice mug.
I have a mug from Veronica that says "Straight White Male Tears," and I'm drinking from it, and I feel like that is Perrin's attitude this entire book.
Kind of. It was just a lot for Brando to try and come in and handle, and he's doing his best. We'll say that.
Yeah, I don't blame Brando Sando necessarily. I just think he did a lot. He went over a lot of retread. He retread a lot of ground where Perrin was concerned.
Yeah, I think it's something where it's like he kind of overdoes it at times, where it's like, okay, just let it go. We're done with this. We don't need this explained multiple times.
Yes. So well, we come back in, and as we remember, Perrin's gonna have to go on trial. They found out who Megden was. And so Fael and Perrin are kind of just they're discussing what just happened in the book we read. So it's like us coming into this book today. Sure. We're retreading old ground. Perrin goes in to tell Anriad to find out why there are no wolves around. And he wakes up next to the Tower of Genji, where Matt's supposed to be going. It's so weird. And then Hopper says it's because the one connected to him, who Perrin is it must be Matt, is interested in this location. Club. Oh my god. And they find a violet dome on the road where Perrin's camp is, and they think that that's probably what's keeping them from traveling. And then it's
associated with the Age of Legends.
Yes. And they realize Slayer has been attacking wolves, and he killed one and wounded another, and Perrin forces himself through the dome to rescue someone and flees and to figure out what's going on and flee to Dragon Mount. And then we cut on over to Rodell, who's fighting Shadow Spawn. It's just we see lots of breaks into Brando Sando being I want a war to be going on. And so they have the Oseman ready to escape. And they signal the other Oseman at a different wall to be standing by with Saidin. One of them loses a leg. One of them is deafened. They are kind of healed, but they're incredibly exhausted. And they're recommending retreat. And so Rodell agrees and sets up and starts ambushing the Trollocs if they can't, defeat as many as they can, and fades in the streets with archers, crossbowmen, and cavalry.
And then the Trollocs retreat back.
Yes. So. Woo-woo. And then we head on over to Fael. She's walking with Berelaine and Alejandra near Perrin's camp with maidens. All of a sudden, there is a bubble of evil that's attacking them with their. Oh my god! It's just hey, there's nothing going on with Fael. Her own swords or her own knives are attacking her. Oh my gosh!
I don't.
And they were
that.
And they realized that throwing dirt on it, be a man, rub some dirt on it. They just realized that rubbing dirt on it ends the bubble of evil.
Well,
obviously.
It's it becomes lifeless or something when they put dirt on it, which I'm confused because I'm were these beings? Are these know. I don't understand these bubbles of evil.
I don't know. And it's Fael saves Berelaine.
Also Berelaine's I need to meet up with Galad again.
I know. And she's he's
quote unquote, someone diplomacy
reasons. I want to meet him for diplomacy. Maybe I could get him to not want to attack us. If I just seduce him just a wee bit.
Just to be truthful.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything related to diplomacy.
I know. And then we cut on over to Morgaze, who's talking to Galad, and she's son, who I loved, even though in previous books it was I don't
a liar.
I know, it's you're such a liar. You don't like him. This book, the way it gaslights you, at one point, like in this book, Elaine is like, you know, God, we just didn't really get along. And I was like, you hated him.
I was gonna say, what the heck? Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah.
That made me mad too.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're both mad. But Galad is like, I feel bad for killing Valda because he didn't kill you. And she was like, he still raped me. So like maybe it was okay. Like,
it's justified.
I know. But it's like, it's Galad again sees in black and white. She points it out in this book where she's like, you don't see very morally gray stuff because even if it was justified, your whole thing is like, it wasn't what the reason behind it. So it had to be wrong. And it's like, that's not a thing. Then
she also like calls out Galad and like, you were totally bluffing when you said you're gonna kill the prisoners.
Right? It's just like you lie, and he's like, yes, but I'm a child of the light, so it's okay. And she's like, are you fucking
no, it's not
me? I know. Like if you're gonna act this way, you know, and it's like, well, we walk in the light, so we shouldn't be able to be destroyed. And it's like, that's not a reason.
I know. So many of his interactions, I was like, just stop, please stop.
It just reminds me of like all the Catholic school where it's like, you know, if you believe God will take care of you, then you shouldn't like work for food because God will provide. Or the stupid it's a person like floating in the water and it's like, hey, do you want to ride? And it's like, God will save me. And it's like, God will save me. And it's like, I sent a boat, a plane, and a helicopter. Like, what did you want? So Galad doesn't believe in that and he might drown. But anyway, so like she also is like, hey, Perrin's kind of a good guy. And he's like, I think he's a shadow spawn. And it's like, what's your evidence? Two crazy people and like a drunk guy and a guy who just keeps whispering like he's evil. Like that's your evidence. This is a weird way to do this.
Please just think. Use your brain.
You're a smart guy. Start acting like it.
Try.
Yeah. And then she's like, you know, you're all black and white, but like at the final battle, you're going to have to fight with Aes Sedai. And he's like, I don't want to talk about that. And she's like, well, that's just a really stupid way to act. And then she's like, hey, you captured all these people. You think they're shadow spawn. Do you know Lenny's in there? You would have killed her. And he's like, I would have figured it out. out. And she's like, it's a bad way to think. You're an idiot. And then she's like, I once gave a man a death sentence and then I discovered he was innocent. Like, things can go wrong. Don't be stupid. Like, and then they find out the Perrin wants to postpone the trial because of the things happening in his camp. And Galad says he will consider it. We got on over. It's a lot of Perrin and Galad.
Perrin and Gaul.
Perrin and Gaul. They're walking around discussing the bubble of evil. Like
honestly, I didn't think this interaction was that important. It's just like
it wasn't. It's just like okay,
oh, I see Rand again in my mind.
Oh, he is going to give us more time. We didn't need this section. After Galad could have just said, "It's okay, we'll give it to them."
I know. I feel like also that whole I see him in my mind that Perrin and Matt get every now and then, where they're like seeing colors or whatever. It's becoming a little too convenient for me.
This is also the scene where Tam comes in and he's like, I must dash.
Which is weird.
And we also knew where he was going because it happened in the last book. So now we just know Brando Sando like is messing with the timelines, which is confusing.
It took me a while to figure it out, honestly, because I was like, wait a minute, I thought he was somewhere else. And it's like, no, he jumped back. Ugh.
I kind of figured it out a little bit early on just because I think I hadn't fully figured it out, but I was like, that's probably what's going on just because I've read Game of Thrones and they did that a lot with Game of Thrones, was playing with the timeline. But also,
it made more sense there. It was easier to pick up on.
And it wasn't 13 books in where it's like
not
exactly just a week later.
The timeline had been played with a lot earlier.
I agree.
I like Game of Thrones.
I know. We also cut on over to Elaine. She's being carried up in a bed, like a litter, because she has bed rest. Which
is so stupid.
So stupid.
And she's going to watch like a dragon demonstration, which I'm like, did we know that there were dragons?
No. It's not like a dragon. It's not an actual dragon. It's the
Oseman, or what is this?
So remember how Matt was like, I need all this, like all these tools. He worked with the fireworks lady to build this weapon that they call a dragon.
Oh my gosh, how confusing. I was thinking that it was like an actual creature. And I'm like, now we're introducing creatures that are dragons at this point. Oh my gosh.
No. It's a weapon.
This is
it's
why
a prototype.
I should have not listened to the audiobook.
It's okay. I know what we were talking about. We're working on it together. But yeah, they also like the way they treat bed rest is like if you step out of bed one time, and it's like
that's not how that works. You have to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, it was just very literal. And I was like, does Brandon Sanderson understand what bed rest is?
No.
They could probably put her in a small little like carrier and carry her upstairs.
Right.
She doesn't need to never remove herself from the bed. Why are they carrying the bed up there? And they like literally had to like stick her outside like the window and carry her. It was very bizarre.
Everything about Elaine in this book is weird.
I know. And
I will just throw that out there.
I know. So they like practice with these like new weapons that are supposed to be able to fire and explode. Like a dragon spewing fire. So you were close.
I really thought it was just actual dragons.
Yeah. So they try to fire it off again.
If you're getting confused.
And Elaine is like, this could be as deadly as the Damani, and says to Eludra when asked, I'm gonna double check on this to make sure like they weren't actually dragons, but I don't think they were dragons.
You're probably right. I was listening to it at the book at work and maybe just didn't pick up on this correctly. Probably didn't. Yeah,
called Dragon and Dragon Rigs. Dragons are bronze lofting tubes that launch powerful fireworks at a target and do a great amount of damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my
What
bad.
is a dragon?
These terms are used too.
And then they just talk about using dragons and how they must hide it from everyone. And Brigitte is like, I don't know. This is really weird. And, Brigitte is the person who just questions everything now and doesn't drink, but talks about drinking a lot. We cut on over to File, who's just making plans for like what happens if Perrin is put to death and how they're going to get him out of there and how the two river folks will protect him. We got on over to Perrin and the Wolf Dreams. He's just pretty much like going after Slayer again a lot of the time. Like a lot of these Wolf Dreams. I hate
like how the voice of Hopper is in these Wolf Dreams because it's really coded as like it reminds me of like if you watch an old Western movie and there's a indigenous person in it and the voice that the narrator uses really sounds like that, and I'm so bothered by it. Perrin, you must learn how to, and the way that he does that voice, I'm like, this bothers me a little.
I get that. I think so. That's
maybe fair. I'm the only one picking up on it, but I am bothered by Hopper's voice in the audiobook.
I get that. I'm also bothered by Min's voice. We talked about it last week. This is the book that Laura and I were just like, have these voices always been this way?
I
know. Because literally, guys, I was on the plane listening to Min's voice going, me. Like, it's so fucking annoying. So, yeah. But anyway, like, I don't want to, these dreams go on for freaking ever. Not much happens. Like,
it's just them, like, he's sensing a lot of things happening, and Hopper's like, no, that's a nightmare, and no, this is real, and don't go over by Slayer, like, don't confront anyone in these.
What Egwene learned books ago.
Yeah, it's just like kind of going over the rules and like trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and like that kind of thing.
So he learns about nightmares. He is like, you're not ready to fight Slayer. Don't fight Slayer. It's like, this is how you chase after me. He learns how to chase after him. I don't know. And it's like, this is important for the last hunt. And it's like, isn't everything. I don't know.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they go to Dragonmouth though. That's where it like actually starts to like in this chapter at least have anything interesting. I feel like because when they go to Dragonmouth, like all the wolves are gathered there and they're like waiting for Perrin to make a decision about like the last hunt. I feel like.
Yeah. Perrin makes his way to the top. He finds Rand, and there's a shell of evil blackness around Rand until light shines through. Then the blackness shatters and sunlight shines down in a column on top. Dragonmount wolves appear, Hopper being one of them, and they howl. Perrin joins him, and they note that the last hunt has begun.
Also, why did they call him Young Bull? We've never questioned this before, or at least I never had. But I'm like, why do they call him Young Bull? I can't remember the reason for that.
First book, it's like they call him Young Bull because, like, in the first book, he's kind of like a young pup because he doesn't understand what's going on, but he's so like beefy and brawn that they're like, it's a young bull, you're bullheaded. blah, 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 toxic masculinity, all that kind of stuff.
I was confused why it wasn't more of a wolf related nickname.
Yeah. Because they're wolves and he's fighting against being a wolf, so he's young bull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Matt is gambling and he goes out and
That is awful.
being loud and being like, look at my hat. I love this hat. Everyone should look at it.
Shut up about the stupid hat. I was very annoyed by that hat.
And then they're getting the golem to come out to attack Matt.
And he chases them.
And he leads them into a place where they like put fire around it.
I know.
The golem just runs in a circle, kicking over the fire lantern.
And it trips.
And then it trips over one. I was just imagining like this weird creature being like, I'm singing in the rain, like just kicking it like in a musical. Like it was very silly in my mind. I was
picturing more like if you were watching the TV show, it's like very dramatic, and then all of a sudden it just like trips. And you're like, really? That was so dumb.
It was just like he was running around a circle where they had lanterns on the ground, being like kick, and I was like, kicking it over is the silliest thing like a scary creature can do. Like, make it have telekinesis. I don't know, but running around in a circle, kicking them over makes me think of the guy kicking things and singing in the rain. Like it just does.
That's fair.
But anyway, the golem like comes up and Matt like rushes it. It hits it with all the new fox head medallions that Elaine made, and then they have one of the men come in and they've made like a skimming thing, and he kicks it into the skimming thing so it can fall forever and ever and ever. And he's like, the golem is now taken care of. Cross that off of what Robert Dorn was never going to take care of.
That was never going to be resolved, but now it is.
Yes. And then we cut on over to like Ituralda, who's saved by Bashir, and Rand's there. He battles his shadow spawn who are trying to take the city, and he takes Rodell to where he needs to go. And they're like, well, how could you and we cut on over to Min's point of view, and they're all like, how could you leave us like this? And Randa's like, I'm sorry, I was insane. I've had a lot of pressure on me. Leave me alone. I'm here now. And everyone is like, oh my God, he's admitting he was wrong. This is brand new information. And it's just I didn't get the scene as much. Like, it's very weird to just see Rand descend into madness all last book and then have him be the same person he was 2 books ago.
I know it. I feel like the jump back is too soon. They should have waited till the last book, maybe have a little more happen.
I don't know. And Rand is like, oh my gosh, that battle exhausted me a lot more than it should have. Rand asked Min while they were talking what she's learned about Kalendor, and she's like, I don't know yet. And
he tells her like the thing about being with like the 2 women in the circle,
right? And he's like, I've already asked Nynaeve, and and then he finds out like one of the people he thought he killed is still alive because they weren't in that building that he like put down. The next chapter just says Nynaeve takes the 3 oaths, and it's like there are other points of view, and that doesn't matter.
I was gonna say,
but anyway, Nynaeve takes the 3 oaths. She's talking to Egwene about cleansing of Sidene and everything else she saw with Rand. Egwene condemns him for the forced bonding, and Nynaeve takes his side. And Nynaeve is kind of like, I'm just kind of on Rand's side, Egwene. I'm sorry. And then they're also doing something about Tala Anriad so they can lie a trap for Missana. Nynaeve offers to lead so that Egwene won't be putting herself in danger, but Egwene decides her knowledge of Tala Anriad is essential. Perrin continues to learn mastery of the wolf dream. And then
Gawain, does he though? I feel like he doesn't.
I feel like he doesn't. Gawain, oh my God, I hated this section so
chapter
much.
Was annoying.
Gawain and Elaine are like, Elaine's like, why don't we go outside and talk, Gawain? And then it's like, admit that you're just jealous that Rand gets to live the life you wanted to live, and that's why you hate him so much. And Gawain, and it's selfish of you. And Gawain's like, oh my God, I know, but I just can't get over it. And then he's like, and then he's like,
when did we ever know this about Gawain?
He doesn't care. He only cares about a queen. So I don't understand where suddenly like he gets all the glory that I was
like, he got all the accomplishments that I wanted to have. And like, well, try to do something. Maybe you'll accomplish something and have some notoriety. But so far, you've done nothing. So...
And then he's like, Randall Thor, I will no longer have bad feelings towards you about this ever again. And it's like, when did Rand care?
He's like, I don't think I'm gonna hold this vendetta anymore. Like, really? Okay.
You were the only one who knew about that vendetta. Like, no one else cared.
But then he like
literally
he's like, I can't believe that this blue sky and like flowers are Rand. Rand's doing that? Like, oh my gosh, Gowan, shut up.
Fucking, you're the worst. I hate him so much. Except, okay, so there's a moment in this book where he said something, and Hannah's toxic trait is men growing, and I was like, oh, hey, grow. And then I was like, no, Hannah, we're not giving this man the bare minimum. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not. No. Anyway, so then he like takes out a knife that he had taken from someone who tried to assassinate a queen. The red knife, and he finds out from one of the like old Damani women that it's like, that's a blood knife, and she's like, I can't tell you anymore. And he's like,
it's like a Sanchin assassin.
Yeah. And you find out it's a Sanchin assassin. They're people who like their blood, like being an assassin, like harms their bloodstream. They're going to die, but they're the best assassins ever anywhere.
Right.
And he gives the messenger the blood knife, and he instructs him to tell Egwene that the killer is a Sanchin assassin. And it's like, these people take weeks. Their only mission is to kill this person, and then they will die afterwards. But they won't die until the mission is complete. How does that work? How does the blood be like, we gotta slow it down?
It has to be like activated though in a special way.
Is that
if I'm remembering right? It has, because she like explains it that it has like, you have to use it with like a triangle, and then it has to be activated in order to use it effectively, that it like poisons it or something, right? Isn't that what it was?
That's helpful to know. Thank you for that.
I'm not describing this well, but I'm almost positive it has to be like activated.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful. Thank you for that. Then we cut on over to the trial that did not need to happen.
Oh,
the chapter is called Judgment, and it's just a chapter.
I'm judging.
Like,
it's bad.
And Perrin's like, I will listen to the judgment. Don't have anyone step in for me. And File's like, go. And Galad like is like, hey, he murdered White Cloaks. It means he's a dark friend, everyone. He's a dark friend. I proved it. He murdered them. And Perrin is like
no nuance at all in their argument. Like,
it's a bad argument. I'm a lawyer, and this is stupid and shows why Olden Day
the worst trial ever.
So bad. And so he's like, oh, and there are 3 charges: those murders, of being a dark friend, and bringing Trollocs into the two rivers. And then he immediately is like, well, the second one can't be proved, so we're just gonna drop it because we can't prove it.
Well,
and
also,
then Perrin,
like him saying, like, okay, well, why would I fight the Shadow Spawn if I brought them there?
And they're like, that's a good argument if you weren't a Shadow Spawn and you just wanted people to follow you. Dun dun dun. It's just such a dumb
And he's also like, why would I care about prisoners, and why would I come to this trial like willingly if I was a Shadow Spawn? Like,
right.
Make it make sense.
And
he can't make it make sense.
And then oh my God, he's like, it was justified killing because they murdered one of my friends who was a wolf, and I talked to the wolves and I understand them, and I went a little crazy, and I'm sorry about that. And then Bornhold is like, you're a dark friend, you murdered my father. And he's like, hey, have you ever thought about like empathy, Bornhold? And like, your dad just like got murdered while people were there, and like it's just like, that's not what happened. He fought alongside the heroes of the Horn against the Sanchin, and that's how he died. And then they're like, well, you know, Egwene is the only person who can like account for this. But then Morgase is like, well, I'm not going to find you guilty of murder, but it is unlawful killing, and Galad gets to have the judgment on whatever it should be.
Which I was like, I don't think he does have the judgment, but okay.
I don't know. And Galad is like, I'll name the punishment later. And then the next chapter, Perrin enters Tala Anrad and he takes the dream spike. And we also find out that Egwene is like, did you guys go get Gawain for me? And they're like, yes. And he said no. And she's like, ask him a little bit more nicely. And then Galad and Bayer start to argue. Bayer assists the Parents of the Shadow. Oh, and during the trial, Perrin is like, Bayer, you were a terrible person. And like, you and I had an agreement and you went back on it. And I forget exactly what happened in that moment. Like, what was his argument against Bayer? This is the book where Hannah and Laura both lost focus in different parts.
So I'm pretty sure where were you at? You were at Bayer and
Bayer's
Galad.
trying to convince Galad, but it was because like Perrin came forth with like something against Bayer where he was like, actually,
he believes that he didn't kill his father, but he's still...
that's Bornhold, but Bayer was the one who he was like, he's a dark friend, friend. And Perrin was like, you literally let me and Egwene go so that you could murder us. And so why would you do that if we weren't if we were dark friends, why would you have let us go? And Bayer's like, oh my God, I can't believe that he remembered this very important fact. And it's like, fair enough. I didn't remember that very important fact.
I mean, it was
good job.
So long ago. How could anyone remember it?
Perrin remembered it. A wolf never forgets. I know. But they're like, okay, well, we'll have to have like camp in case Perrin betrays them. And then Bornhold is like, I'm trouble, but I no longer think he killed my father. And it's like, good job. And so
finally drop this.
So Perrin is like definitely running around with the dream spike. They're trying to kill Slayer.
It's like inside the dome.
Yeah, and he's inside the dome. And once he has control of the dream spike, he's able to like shift it repeatedly. And so God. And so like then Egwene is trying to arrange an alliance with the Windfinders and the Wise Ones in Tala Anriad, but it's also being used as a trap for Masana because she knows like she will be able to get away. And
there's like a lot happening.
It's so much happening. And like all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, they're here. They're attacking. And she's like, okay. So she goes to do it, but then they're not able to travel in Tala Anriad. And they figure out it's because like Perrin like saw Tar Valon and he's like, the city looks like a good place to take the dream spike. And it's like, no, it doesn't. People can't travel when it's over there. So he like plans to kill Slayer. It's like a bunch of Egwene is fighting Masana and the Black Aja and Tala Anriad. And then Gawain is running in because he realizes that someone's going to try to assassinate Egwene.
Right.
And so he like immediately is attacking it. And like before that, the Windfinders, the Aiel and the women of Tar Valon are all like, hey, let's have apprenticeship programs where everyone has to learn different things
everyone
from
has
each
to
other.
Learn how to channel and do all
different ways. And you have to apprentice everywhere, but then you have to be approved by the people who approved of you. But then you have every option to go back to those people. And it's like, okay, sure, fine. I'm glad you guys have diplomacy. So anyway, Slayer also is like talking to Perrin and he's like, Luke hates you deeply, but I'm indifferent. And it's like, thank you.
I thought you were the same person. Like
I think it's like the same person as like Rand and Lutheran for a while until he accepted him. So yeah, I guess we could be like, Perrin is jumping around. He runs into Egwene after her fight. Like he's like, this is dangerous. You shouldn't be here. And she's like, I don't have time. And she tries to bind him with ropes, but he like just imagines they're not there. And she's like, how did you do that?
Because he's instantly better at this kind of stuff than her.
He's been training with the wolves for months. But it's just like,
he's been doing this for a lot longer though.
I know. I think it's the whole like Nynaeve versus the Aes Sedai, where for a long time Nynaeve was like, if you guys keep like channeling to lift something, but like if I could just lift it and throw it at you, it's gonna move faster than your brain. Like,
I suppose. I guess I'm just annoyed because it's like, why is Perrin instantly better at something than Egwene when
I looked at it
been
more
doing
as
this
like
for so long?
Egwene kept doing channeling version of this stuff in here, and she forgot like you could just imagine something and it sees like and it's real. And she's like, oh, I guess you're right. And it's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. It's probably better to look at it as like a keep it simple, stupid type thing.
Right. And like because the dream spike is there, everyone can't move around like they wanted to. Yeah. Perrin, like Hopper almost dies because Slayer throws him off the White Tower. He tries to catch him, but Slayer stabs him. Perrin's able to escape and save Hopper. Slayer aims an arrow to finish Hopper, but Perrin sees an opening to a nightmare behind him and jumps into it, taking Slayer with him. Missana is like trying to go after everyone. Gawain is trying to save Egwene from all the different blood knife attacks. It's a lot of fighting, guys. Egwene like has to fight the Black Sisters and the Forsaken and Tela Anriad. Isn't she captured?
Yes, she is.
And she's like captured with the control ring of like the Damani. And she's like, actually, this can't hold me because Perrin just taught me a valuable lesson. And that's if something isn't real, it's not real.
So annoying.
And so she's able to she's able to like she takes it off her neck as Missana attempts to question her about Perrin and the Dream Spike on equal footing now in the final showdown between them. It becomes a challenge of wills. And Egwene calls on all the strength of the Amarlin Sea, because of course she does. And then Missana's mind is destroyed utterly in the struggle. She returns to the town.
It's a little confusing to me, but okay.
And it's a little bit like, oh, this is a plot contrivance, but I guess it works here. Yeah. She meets up with Nynaeve, Suyan, Liani, and the Wise Ones. On seeing the state of Missana, Bear explains that she has seen this before, and it's caused by a dreamwalker encountering something that her mind could not affect. Which
so she like literally blew her mind. This is the only way you can take this.
Yeah, she blew her mind.
Like I don't know. How else can you take it?
Brando Sando was like, someone was like, oh my gosh, that dessert was so good, it blew my mind. And he was like, now that you mention it.
That's genius.
Why have I never thought of it before? Anyway, so she blows her mind. And so they're like, well, we can't get far away with the Dome of the Dream Spike over the city. And the Wise Ones decide to hunt the Black Sisters down. Egwene thanks the Wise Ones for their help and orders the Aes Sedai back to the tower proper. And just as she's waking, she hears Bear lamenting that it was such a shame that Egwene went to the White Tower rather than return to the Wise Ones, because everyone is up Egwene's butt at all times.
I was very annoyed for Egwene this book.
Perrin is racing through a nightmare of Tarman Gaidan in the Tarvalon of Tela Anriad. Slayer's there amongst like a vision of death and destruction. Perrin quickly takes action. From the ledge. Yeah, he makes the wall near Slayer become red hot and melt. And like then he saves Slayer from the molten lava, but he takes back the Dream Spike. As Slayer notices it's missing, Perrin strikes with a knife he has just thought of into his hand, because Perrin is just so good.
Because doesn't he dream up the lava too?
Yes, he dreams up the lava as well. And then he's like, ooh, nightmares are strong. And he just throws the Dream Spike into lava that he created.
And then it's like the dome disappears then after that.
Yeah. And Perrin's like, you should flee now to complete his answer. And then he dies. Egwene wakes and she's like, oh my God, my quarters are crazy. And Gawain is like battling to protect her while she was fighting Missana and the Black Sisters. She notices Gawain lying on the floor, dying from serious wounds.
Oh, darn.
And she calls for help. And instead of letting him die, she bonds him.
She
And
says,
she wants
"This is
to
what I
know
want. This is what I want. I swear."
I swear. I'm
Really?
swearing. I love a good fuck boy. I can't help
I'm
it.
unconvinced.
I don't know. Again, Egwene's one fault is her love interests. And I mean, same, Egwene, same, but still judgment. I can't. Perrin wakes in his tent with Fael with him. The Aes Sedais are healing him, and they're like, "We couldn't heal you when you were asleep." And Fael tells him that the people are mostly gone with a few thousand soldiers left in the camp. He immediately tells the Oseman to make a gateway and get people out of the camp because there's an attack that's going to be imminent.
And then Fael tells him that Hopper's gone again. Lost him the second time.
Sad. As soon as he reaches the gateway, the remainder of his army move through to a location near Whitebridge. Grendel is displeased about the failure of the plan to destroy Perrin and his escape from her, because it was like, that was why we had the dream spike.
Was it?
She was like, I just done enough chaos to make him vulnerable. How dare you? Avienda talks to a strange woman. And Ruidian.
Does this chapter need to be there?
I don't know. The woman's like, my name is Nakomi.
And then she's like, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom.
She just disappears.
Like, what? Why was this? Why? Just she's why? Like,
I've been punished for a sin. I have great toe. I need to be. Bye. And she doesn't return. And Avienza's like, where'd she go?
Where's all their stuff? Weird. Okay.
And then all of a sudden we have Perrin like at his like with all his people. Then he's like, you know what I'm gonna do right now? I'm gonna forge a hammer for 25 pages. That sounds like a good idea. And then like one of the Oseman like I know, and one of the Oseman like do it with like wise ones in a circle, and they like imbue it with power. And he has it shaped 3 steel bars into the 3 pieces that make a hammer. As he puts it together, he realizes that he wants to lead, and it was wrong for him to abandon his people.
Well, then he like puts like a likeness of Hopper on it or something.
Yeah, it has like a wolf on it. And he's like, it's called Milne. Which means
you go ahead and you can say that. I
can't. Milne. Which means he who soars to commemorate Hopper. Milne.
Sure.
5 times fast.
Sure. I'm not.
You try to say it. I don't know.
You say it. I don't know what it looks like, so I can't say it.
It looks like Milne.
Sure.
Okay.
Are there apostrophes?
Yeah, there's one. It's MAH apostrophe ALLEINIR.
Malin. Is that what
Malinir? Malinir.
Malinir. I guess Malinir is good enough. Who cares?
Malinir is, yeah, that's probably the closest.
Who cares?
Fael and Berylane are like, so what about? Okay, also something that annoys me in this book.
Fael and Berylane. Me too.
Well, yes, yeah, same. But like in this book, they always talk about like, yeah, he got rid of the axe because the axe is only a weapon, but the hammer is a tool.
The hammer is a tool
where you can build things. And my point is, you can use an axe to build things too. It's not like the only thing you use an axe for is a weapon. It's not like
also he uses the hammer as a weapon. It's like a sledge.
Well, it's like, because he's always like, but the hammer can be used for both. It is both weapon and to build. And I'm like, so is an axe.
I was just saying,
not a reasonable
hatchets
argument.
Are used for a lot of woodworking things, so it's not accurate.
Do you want to build a building? I'm pretty sure you're going to have to use an axe of some sort. So what are you talking about, Brando Sando? That doesn't make sense. And I understand in his mind, it's like,
it's supposed to be like a conflict of Perrin choosing the light in himself over darkness, and just like
bad representation of that.
Yeah, it doesn't
to build a house.
It doesn't work.
You can use an axe to build. It's often used to help build.
It's well known that it's a useful tool.
I hated that so much. I was talking to Veronica and I was like, it can build things too. And she was like, I didn't think about it, but now that you mention it, you are right.
He just said it so many times that now it's like irking you.
And so we cut on over to File and Barrelane, and Barrelane is like, he's not going to attack the White Cloaks, is he? I think he is. And File's like, he would never do that. And she's like, yes, he would. He's going to kill them while they're at least suspecting, so he wouldn't have to uphold the oath of letting Galad pass judgment on him. And she's like, you really don't know Perrin at all. Why did you want him?
She's like, you guys would be a terrible match. Like, stop bringing this back up. Stop.
And then all of a sudden, Barrelane, who we've been like, she's a predator. It's like, well, Rand promised him to me. And it's like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Like, well, not in so many words, but he rebuffed me. And then he sent me off with Perrin. So that meant he wanted us to marry each other.
No, it's...
And File's like, I don't think Rand's like that. And she's like, oh, you silly, stupid woman. And it's like, what?
Like, no, you misinterpreted and lied about everything. So...
I know. And she was like, no, he wanted me to have her. But now I'm focused on Galad because like all I bring to the table is a vagina. So I have to marry someone.
And he's the brother to the queen.
Yes. And then Elias is like, I have to go.
Me too, Elias. I have to get out of here.
And then someone is like, Galad, Perrin's armies on the heights above them. And Byre arrives and claims that Galad has killed them all. But Galad says if the light would have protected them before, it still does so now, which is a terrible argument. And he realizes that the Perrin's archers are at a great advantage. Perrin tells Fael, Barrelane, and Aliana, he doesn't tell anyone what's going on. He's just like, everyone get ready. Everyone, are you ready? Fael, you need to leave. And Barrelane's like, don't kill them. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm not killing them. And then all of a sudden, Trollocs rush in.
Convenient. And Miradral, too. Don't forget about them. And then he's like, okay, archers fire. Like,
and then he's like, fire. And Galad is like, oh my God, he's going to hit us. And then he's like, no, arrows have come down. Oh my God, they're Trollocs. And then Perrin comes running in and he's like, what the hell is going on? And he's like, I figured they came in through a portal stone over there. There are ruins over there. That's portal stone.
Like, how about you just explain what you're doing a little more rather than just like confusing everyone thinking you're actually
attacking them. And I had to do this because I didn't think the White Cloaks would believe me. Men shouldn't be in power.
And then like it makes things more confusing because then which one is it? Bornhold or Byre? That's like, why would you like have this happen at this time and not say anything about it? Because this Trolloc attack seems rather convenient. And like, we all think it's convenient.
Well, they're like, Byre runs up and he's like, he's a dark friend. He brought the Trollocs to convince you.
I would believe it now.
And Galad is like, that doesn't make sense. Why would he do this and kill all of us right now with Trollocs if we're going to kill more of them than they are of us? That seems stupid. And he's like, it may not make logical sense, but it does to me. And then also because like
sometimes with some of these things happening, I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's got a point.
I know. Laura can be gaslit into thinking anyone is a dark friend.
I mean, with like the Trolloc thing, I'm like, maybe he's got a point. This does seem odd that these Trollocs just show up and like he's not like saying anything.
They're all fighting because Mahalanir is like powerful and has Oseman power in it, which we find out is like a lost gift that of course people just discover willy-nilly and just like no study at all. He like burns the Trollocs when he touches them with it. And like they're fighting and Galad is like, listen, here is your judgment. 500 crowns blood price to the families of the men you killed, and you must fight in the last battle, because now I see things not in black and white. Byre
gonna fight in the last battle anyways. So.
I know. So Byre sees this and he's like, no, he's a dark friend, and he tries to kill him, but instead Bornhold kills Byre and the battle continues. This is such a rushed. Yeah. Oh my God. Egwene's with Gawain. And this is where he was like, I realized that I needed to come to you on your own terms. And I was like, oh, maybe he's growing. And I was like, no, he still sucks, Hannah. Do not convince yourself otherwise. And he's like, let's get married immediately. And she's like, oh my goodness, Gawain, I need to get my family's approval first. And also she's a lady, so he can't have sex with her and sleep in her room. That's another part of this. He takes heard Tara Angreal from the assassin's bodies. Land becomes aware of a change in his bond, and he's like, I wonder if it's Nynaeve. It must be. And he's like seeing it. He's trying to like hide from all the Borderlanders because again, Lan wants to fulfill the prophecy of his people in the dumbest way possible, in a way he's never thought of once, where it's like, if I die, I fulfilled the prophecy. It's good enough. And people and like Nynaeve got people to follow him anyway because she was like, he's not going to be able to lose his horse, so watch for the horse. And so
he's like, he might be in disguise, but Mandarva is not.
Yeah. And so Lan has a little choice but to announce who he is and proclaim that the Golden Crane flies for Tarman Gaiden, which like, Lan, it's the end of the world battle. Stop trying to do it by yourself. It's stupid. And I don't like it. I do not approve. Galad decides that Perrin is no dark friend, and he's like, I'll follow you into the last battle. And Perrin's like, but we will have Oseman and Aes Sedai. And he's like, that's just a risk I'm willing to take. And he says, if you don't swear to obey me, and he's like, oh yeah, he was like, you must swear to obey me. You must swear fealty. And Galad is like, I can't do that. I'm the leader of the fascists. And Perrin is like, fine.
I can't do that. I'm the leader of the fascists.
And he's like, fine. But then Rand's going to come in and you're not going to be able to say no to Rand. And Galad is like, fine. Then we cut over to Alejandra like, for some reason. Who's just like, oh yeah, until the battle is done. Then we cut over to Alejandra, who's like, I'm not as stupid as people think I am, but I can't hear those women because I'm a little stupid. And then she starts to tell Alejandra that a ruler has no room for love and must make a match for who's the best in the land. And then Galad enters, and Alejandra and Berelain lose their train of thoughts because Berelain now wants that Galad D.
And it's just a match that she wants because he's related to the queen.
Yeah. And then Morghese is like talking to Master Gil and Linny, and they discuss returning to Camelin and Elaine. And she's like, well, I have renounced my throne, but I will help Elaine until she no longer needs me. And then she's allowed to send me away because we can't have two people who once were rulers in the same house because she'll want to murder me. Doesn't make sense. Sense. But anyway, Talonvor comes in and he's like, I'm leaving you now. I've done my duty. Goodbye. And she's like, well, Elaine may not want me to marry someone who we've offended, but I want to marry you, and I've done enough, and I actually love you, so let's get married. But you must ask me first. And so they get married. Yeah. And by Perrin, and Perrin does a piss poor job of it. He's like, they wanted it over fast, so I said they were married.
Which, you know what? I wanted this over pretty fast too.
I wanted it over fast too. Thank you for that. And then they're like, we're going to celebrate. Yeah. And then Matt suddenly pops up
like in a really nice outfit. And then they're like,
really nice outfit with his hat. And he's like, want to release a badger in the camp?
No,
I don't. And like, and then he's like, I need to borrow one of your Oseman. And then he leaves. And Perrin's like, I guess I have to let this badger up.
What am I supposed to do with this badger?
Let me with a badger.
Like a new girl.
I don't think the badger's rabid. I think he's just kind of a dick.
Badgers are notoriously mean.
Guys, I'm pretty sure this is how we die. Oh, I've been thinking a lot. We got to leave the earth better than we left. Sorry, I'm just saying new.
They're not thinking a lot in this book. I'll just say that.
No. So then Elaine is thinking about a message she received from Egwene about Missana being defeated. And she's like thinking about Rand because she's pregnant with his children. And suddenly the band of the Red, we find out that the band of the Red Hand has agreed to let them use a couple of the bands of soldiers, but Dylan thinks it's a bad idea as they might be seen as invading. Nori tells them that his spies have been telling him that ever since Rand said he would give the throne to Elaine, that people have been trying to find a way to stop it in Camelin. And the people are afraid she will make Andorans noblemen and take away the nobility from the Kyrians. Elaine asks for the names of anyone who has recently risen in influence, and then Brigitte walks in with Galad and Morghese. And again, Elaine is like, I guess I never really hated Galad. We just never saw eye to eye.
Made me so mad.
And then like they're all suddenly shocked, and Elaine is like, did you abdicate the throne? And Morghese is like, yes, I did.
That's all. Desperate.
Yeah, and then Galad is like, I'm a fascist, and she's like, that makes sense. And she's like, Elaine, she's like, go get Morghese's abdication documents. After Morghese and Elaine have a little chat and catch up, they talk about Perrin, Rand, and Morghese's journey and how Elaine is pregnant with Rand's children. Then we shift on over to Avienda. And she sits outside Ruidian thinking about all the changes Rand has made to the city and how he's changed all the Aiel, and the Aiel will realize that they must meet their toe now. And like Avienda it's a lot of like her by herself being like, what is my purpose in these books? Let's think.
None. It's none. She's like wondering about Ruidian. Like, is this place gonna matter? Like, does it?
No,
I don't know.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's just her trying to convince us all that we're like helpful. She's helpful to this plot and all. Then we cut on over to Andral, who's one of the Oseman, who's like one of the only good ones left, but he's still really weak. And it's all these people being like, what do we do? We're told never to leave, like let Sidene out of our bodies. And he like still sees like shadows trying to attack him. There's tensions rising with like Time's men. They're getting all troublesome. They're evil. They're just evil. Like it's just so obvious that they're evil. It's not even funny. Logain is missing. So like they try to send someone out to go find him. It's a mess. Brando Sando had 46 chapters of Perrin having a trial and learning about wolf dreams 82 times. And then in this final back third of the book, he's like, hey, I should have fixed some of these other things. Fine. It's annoying. Fael and Perrin go into Camelin. They talk to Elaine where they're like, hey, Perrin needs to be a lord. And Elaine's like, but I don't want him to be a lord. And I could murder you guys for saying he was a lord. And Perrin's like, you're not going to do that.
Weirdly mad at Perrin after talking to Morghese, and I didn't like it because like, why are you this mad?
Elaine?
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so like usually when we get Elaine's perspective, it's always like she must take this the right way. And we are doing this from Fael's perspective, so I am giving her a little bit of grace. Like this is from someone who doesn't understand Elaine's reason of thinking. And she's believing Elaine at face value, where like in Elaine's mind, we usually get that she has to do these things in a strategic way to save face. That's what Elaine believes she's doing a lot of the time. We disagree with her, but I am giving her a little bit of grace in this section because I do think it's more about Fael's reception of Elaine rather than what Elaine's actual thought process is
towards Perrin.
Yes, exactly. And so Perrin's like, we don't want to pay taxes. And Elaine's like, I'm going to need you to pay taxes. And he's like, we've never paid taxes. We would have kicked you out. And they're both, and Elaine's like, yeah, I kind of know that, but I'm not going to say anything. And he's like, we actually protected ourselves from Telex and you guys have literally done nothing for us. And she's like, okay, well, you guys will be able to do taxes and they'll be able to levy and I'll give them to Rand instead of Perrin because Perrin and Fael can't have nice things. And like, they will be steward of the two rivers. And then Fael's like, I'm second to the Seldaean throne. And she's like, okay, well, like your children will now be second, but one of them has to be steward. One of them has to be. It's just a lot of nobility politics that I don't really care about. And then Elaine is like, maybe we should have an arranged marriage. And Perrin's like, no, I'm not doing that. So yeah. And then Fael then asks if Elaine knows what Rand is doing. She tells them he is going to break the seals and that she knows where Rand will be. And she's like, we need to stop him from wanting to break the seals. And Perrin is like, I don't want to stop him. We cut on over to Tuon. She's the worst. She's trying to train Damani. They're mad that they can't get all the Aes Sedai Damani. She realizes that people on this side of the ocean think differently. And thank God she meant Matt. And it's like, really? That's what took you to realize this? let's have the most two-dimensional characters of ever be here. They're like torturing Elida, who is called Sufa. And like they're just trying to decide how to get Rand to be like in full power, and they need the Aes Sedai to reclaim Senchen and to fight the last battle and let no one know that they know how to travel, because they learn how to travel in this book.
Right.
Cool. Perrin, Matt, and Tom are hanging out in an inn. They're like, oh my God, what have you been doing? I don't know. What have you been doing? Hey, Matt, I have this letter from Varen. I hope it's not important. I don't know. Should we open it? Don't open it. We're going to wait until the final pages of the book, and it's going to be really important.
It's very important.
So Matt asked Perrin if he's heard from Varen, but he's like, no, I haven't. Matt and Tom tell Perrin to watch out. And they're like, hey, we have to go get Moraine. And he's like, oh, great. I can't wait to tell Rand about that. And I'll come with you guys. And they're like, no, it can only be 3 people. It can only be 3 people. And Oliver's going to be mad about it. Yeah. So anyway, we cut on over to Avienda.
She's studying Terangriel, and it's boring.
She's studying. She goes through the glass columns to prove to us that she's important to this plot, but she's not.
She's not.
No. So anyway, she sees a bunch of things. Like she sees an 18-year-old stalking Senchen. She is Aiel, but thinks of herself as one of the folk. All 3 of her sisters are dead. She discovers she's one of them and shoots her. It's like Avienda sees the past at first, and she sees people
has
killing each other with guns. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, what was that? Must have been like past back in the Age of Legends, which is the first hint that we're actually in our world for me, even though there have been other hints. It's the first one where I actually noticed it.
Yeah, same.
And then she kind of sees the future, like people, and she sees like the Aiel have become terrible and they no longer want to meet their toe. And it's like through all the perspective of her children and her children's children. And like it starts with children's children, then goes back to children's children, then to children. And it's just like watching them all kind of break. And you find out a lot of it is due to the Senchen trying to invade and keep everything in control. And like it leads to a bad end of the world. And Avienda is realizing she's seeing the future. And that's pretty much it. And the Aiel fall just after the last battle. And like it's because of her descendants' decisions. And Avienda is like, I don't remember any of these. This feels different. And you know, it's weird. And they're like, we must keep and people are way into the days of the dragon, and it turns into the days of the raven. So it's all about, oh my God, what's going to happen in the next book? Should we be concerned? Yes.
Right. It's kind of like opening it up for like a whole nother series, basically.
If
Sad.
Sando ever wants to continue with this.
I feel like he doesn't have the strength.
I know. And then Elaine is just like, hey, we're almost to the end of the novel. I need to get Kyria. So she goes and she gets it by offering them titles to Andor and marriages to Andor. And they're like, okay, we'll get back to you in an hour. And one of them's like, half an hour. And they agree. Rand goes to the Borderland leaders and he's like, and they slap him.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And then he Rand is also calling Catsian is like calling him a boy, and he's like, you can keep calling me a boy, but I've been around for 400 years. We haven't seen anyone in these parts for 25 years. And so then he's like, you can call me Rand Sedai because I'm the last one who took the oaths as a man. And the 4 leaders slap him. They ask him who Telendal Taroso is, and he's like, how do you know that name? And they find out that it's all linked to a prophecy, and so they will swear fealty to him. And he is like, this was a bad idea.
Basically, like, I've made a huge mistake.
You guys did a huge mistake, and it was stupid that you asked me about that, because last month I wouldn't have known. So like it only happened because we did the book in this order. It's so dumb. And he's like, I would have killed you guys if you guys had tried to. And they're like, well, you can't channel. And he's like, I can't channel with the one power. And they're like, what does that mean? And he's like, never mind.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Look over there. And then Elaine takes the throne of Kyran. Matt learned Tuan is now Empress. He's really upset about it. He sees Brandon in a tent somewhere and he's like, at least he's wearing clothes. I don't know. And then he talks to Satelli, who's like, hey, Jolene said nice things about you. And he's like, people actually like me. And then
I'm shocked too.
I liked Matt until this book.
Oh.
It's just so bad. And then she's like, why don't you like nobles? And he's like, because they have too many boots.
Which is weird. He's like, life is simple. They have tons of boots for all these different events, and it's hard to keep track which ones they use. Like, what?
And she's like, oh, that's good metaphor for responsibility. And he's like, that's not what that is.
He's like, that's not what I meant at all. It was literally about too many pairs of shoes.
Like, it's really about the shoes. He plans to go to the Tower of Genji, and Elaine hasn't found Satel a gateway. By the time he returns, he will go get her one because she wants to go back to her family. And he's like, do you ever miss being an Aes Sedai? And she's like, yeah, I miss it, obviously. But like, I live a life.
Right.
We cut on over to Pavara, who's getting suspicious of Taim, but he's unable to leave. So he see like the person they sent after Logain came back, and he's obviously under compulsion, but no one knows what compulsion is. So he just looks dead in the eyes, but has all his same memories. So then he goes to an Aes Sedai to help get escape. And she's like, okay, I will try to make a gateway. But for some reason they're not working there. Perrin talks to Matt and Noel, asking them if he can send more help, but Matt tells him no. Grady opens a gateway for them, and he says he must open it every day at noon until Matt returns. Perrin thinks about telling Rand that they're going to rescue Moraine, but he's like, dude, he's gonna mess it up. And then he's like, Rand is in the Borderlands. Yeah. And so they're all just kind of heading to the final battle. And he's like, we ride for the final battle. And it's like, that's so specific. How do you know? How do you know? I don't know.
He doesn't know.
So, anyway, Matt, Tom, and Noel arrive at the Tower of Genji. Tom takes up the bronze knife and draws a triangle with a squiggly line on the tower. It creates an opening. That's one of the covers of the book, and it is so silly looking.
Yeah.
He draws another triangle, and they're like, okay, well, we can get in. And they step in, and then they step out, and then they step in. And they start looking for Moraine. They're trying to follow a map. An Eelfin comes in, telling them that they've broken the bargain. The Eelfin creature tries to convince them to leave their iron music behind, but Matt's like, no, Tom, play music. And he says that he will leave the fire if the creature promises to lead them to the central chamber and give Moraine back, but the creature says it does not have the authority. He says he will lead them halfway to the Chamber of Bonds if they leave the fire. Matt starts singing to Tom's playing, and the creature falls asleep. Matt pulls out his dice and decides to use his luck. He rolls, and he gets 1 and goes straight into the next room. When he gets there, he rolls the dice again and rolls a 9, which means they go back to the chamber they came from. They find that the Eelfin is no longer there. He rolls another 9. They head back towards the room. They see a column of unseen ceiling far above. He tells them that he has been there before, and Moraine isn't far off, because even though
I'm on the right track,
even though the tower shifts all the time, when you enter, you still enter the same room. I don't know. So they travel to the Chamber of Bonds, and they find Moraine. And I don't know. This was like so. It's so much. It's so much. So they do find Moraine. A bunch of people appear. There are dozens of them now, and they're making bargains. Matt's talking in the old tongue. And he they start attacking people as well.
right?
And so they pull Moraine, like they try to reach for Moraine, but Matt can't touch her because she's
missed.
I know, and he like can't touch her because it's hot. Tom reaches in and Matt warns him, but he doesn't care. Tom pulls her out and wraps her in his cloak. He takes off a bracelet she was wearing, saying it looks like a Terra Angreal, but the Eelfin responds saying it's Angreal, almost strong enough to be a Sa Angreal, and that it can be part of her price if they wish to pay it. There are now 4 male and 4 female Eelfin on the pedestal, as part of the bargain, Matt demands the way out restored back where it was and an open gate again, and that they have to leave the way out open until they get through it. No blocking it off or making it vanish when they arrive, with the way direct and with no changing rooms about. A straight pathway, and the Eelfins can't knock them unconscious or try to kill them or anything like that, and they get to take Moraine. They ask what price he will pay. He tells them he will give them half the light of the world, and they take out his eye. Okay.
I mean,
it's very poetic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, and then they start
I was not
running.
bothered by this whole situation.
I wasn't. I think it was more like
thought it was pretty
I was
interesting.
shocked it happens at so long into the novel.
Oh yeah. It would have been
Like-
really nice to have had more of this earlier, because this is actually like the interesting part, and it's
Yes.
always like the last 3 chapters that anything interesting happens.
And that's like the thing is like this is called the Towers of Midnight, and it's literally about this section of the novel.
Yeah.
And it's chapters 53 through 57.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is also very funny because Noel's like, "Hey Matt, I don't remember my old tongue very well, but didn't you just say Eelfin and not Aelfin?"
Aelfin.
And Matt's like, "Scatter!"
Dang it.
Run! And Noel's like, "Where?" And he's like, "Away from the Eelfin." Come on, my guy. So they're trying to escape carrying Moraine. Noel tries to use a drum to soothe them, but it doesn't work. So Matt uses night flowers, like they're exploding cylinders that are really powerful. There are elfin bodies littering the floor. They enter another room. Matt thinks to himself about how he can't use the trick of going back to the room behind them because the elfin are chasing them. Noel asks Matt to use another cylinder, but he tells him it's the last one. Then Tom brings up the fact that the Elfins had told Matt about his eye. He asked Matt if they told him anything else that might help them, but Matt says they just threw him out through the doorway in tear. They continue on until Noel tells them that he's going to delay the Elfins so Matt can cause his luck to find a way out. He tells them that if they ever see a Malkieri, to tell him that Jane Farstrider died clean. So he's one of the people of legends, which anyone could have guessed, but apparently we're finding out here. They take off and shortly enter a room where Matt spins using his luck and faces the way he came. They follow it and end up in a new room with yellow columns made in the shape of enormous vines. And they're held together with globes of white. The floor is tiled in a pattern of white and yellow strips spiraling out from the center. And it is the room where Matt received his answers. He sees the doorway into the other room, or the rubble left by it. It's been shattered. Moraine wakes up, but Matt is trying to figure out how to get out. Tom starts playing music, which slows the elfin down. And Matt ponders the last time he escaped. He realizes that when he asked to be freed of them, he got the Ashandari. He then sticks the Ashandari into the wall and carves a triangle and a wavy line. It opens a doorway and the elfin pull back. They step through, and Matt says that it looks like you can win the game because he was able to get out. We cut on over to Egwene and Gawain. They tell her that Elaine is on their way to the field of Marilor and that he believes that Perrin may take Rand's side about the whole seals being broken. He tells her the White Cloaks are with Perrin and that Galad leads them. She tells him that at least a part of Rand knows that what he is doing is wrong, which is why he told her, so that she can oppose him. Then Gawain starts running because he sees more gays, because Rand didn't kill her.
Like, we knew that she was alive.
I know. And then Andral decides to work with Pavara against Haim because they realize something is going wrong. He's a dark friend. So, and this is where they decide with the Aes Sedai to they're trying to figure out how to get out. And then we cut on over to Matt and Moraine and Tom. Moraine tells them about the Elfin and the Eelfin and how they feed on emotions and power. And they pretty much took away all of Maureen's power.
All of her power.
Awesome. Great. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear how awesome Moraine gets to feel in these books. But she was able to bargain for the Angreal, and it can make her pretty powerful. They say that Lanfear was killed because he drained her too quickly. Matt tells her a little of what Rand has done, including cleansing the taint, and Tom tells her that Matt married the Empress of Shan-Chen, and he's like, it was an accident. They have weird customs, and I did laugh at that. And then Moraine is like, hey Tom, I'll marry you if you want,
which is weird.
I know. And Tom is like, I don't like people with the power. And she's like, I'll give it up for you. And he's like, I will take you with it. And then he's like, I guess you want me to be a warder. And she's like, well, yeah, sure. If you're offering. And Matt is like, how did I not know any of these things? We were traveling with a guy who was like one of the ages of legend who knew all the stories of everything. And I've met one of those before. And you two were in love. I saw you guys hanging out when that happened. And they're like, you're dumb. We all saw it. We've been talking about it. Old people
We've been talking
forever.
about it for a long time, Matt.
Old people forever. Matt wonders what the effects of losing his eye will be on his ability to fight, and he
They
accidentally
offer to
kills.
heal him, and he refuses.
Well, okay, so she can heal. She can't heal, like she can't bring the eye back. It's more like he has like scarring, I think, and like open wounds, and she can heal it to make it feel better. So yeah. So we cut on over into the epilogue, and Grendel is stunned that Perrin escaped her trap again, with the Shadow Spawn army brought by the portal stone. There's a portal stone.
They're back.
She blames Oseman and the White Cloaks and is bitter that her failure means she has to flee and abandon her plans to control Tuon. Shadar Haran, the smiling Fade,
The laughing one.
yeah, the laughing one, arrives, and he tells her that she has failed again and the three chosen were destroyed by her actions. He tells her that she will not be given another chance, but that he tells her that she will not be given another chance, but that he will not forget her. He moves in. Dun, dun, dun. Perrin searches out Boundless in the wolf dream, remembering what Hopper said. Boundless does not want to talk to Perrin, but eventually reveals that he is Gnome, who's the person that lost all control.
Lost themselves.
And he chose the path of the wolf as there is too much pain in the human world. Perrin realizes that losing control while with the wolves is not dangerous. He was never in any real danger of losing himself and has already found the balance that is right for him, just as Gnome and Elias did. So the real power was inside him all along. It's the end of that story. Books and books and books.
Thank God.
Oliver and Talmanis play snakes and foxes. Oliver is annoyed that Matt didn't take him with him, but accepts that Noel is the better fighter. He's planning to stay with the band until he learns all he can, but also because he thinks Matt was someone to keep him organized. Eventually, he plans to go to the Aelfin himself and locate the Shido who killed his father. On the last throw, he wins the game, much to Talmanis' astonishment, who believed that it was impossible because Matt had won, so now people can win. And then he is like, I'm helpful. I'm going to open Varen's letter. And he doesn't fully understand, but it actually contains a warning that a large amount of Shadow Spawn is intending to attack Camelin through a way gate in the city, and that the gate should be destroyed. Talmanis looks at the city and sees it's aflame. He raises the band to defend the city and keep the dragons out of the Shadow Spawn's hand. We cut on over to Berga in the Blight, who's looking for safety. His men are dead and the Kandori towers have fallen. He sees that he takes to be someone who he takes to be Aiel, but with a red veil, and thinks he's saved. But the man removes his veil to reveal teeth filed to the point and moves in for the kill. Rand is dreaming, and he's able to control his dreams and bar anyone else's entry. He hears sounds of pain in the distance and moves to investigate. He sees a woman who he does not recognize until he looks into her eyes and realizes it is Lanfear in a new body. And she says she wishes she were dead, and he grinds her bones and heals her just enough to keep her alive by this person who keeps coming back and back and back. She tells Rand he is coming and vanishes. And then Tan looks across Tarwin's Lan looks across Tarwin's Gap at a Trolloc army 10 times the size of his force and declares he is no longer an Alain and that he is a king, and he leads the charge. Thus ending Towers of Midnight. Laura, how are you feeling about this book?
I didn't mind it, honestly.
That's good.
I was annoyed with a lot of it, but I mean, I think I could be convinced. I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads. I could be convinced to go 2.75 or to go up to 3.25, depending on the argument. So I just left it at 3 because I was like, I think that's where it should be. I really like Brandon Sanderson's writing. I think he's trying really hard. I think just where some of these characters were at was very frustrating and hard to tie things up. And that's the story of Perrin. So, yeah.
Yeah. I struggled with this book. I do think a little bit of it was vacation brain. I also think it was a little too long for I don't enjoy battle scenes. That's pretty well known on this podcast. And a lot of this was random battle scenes.
Sure.
And they're just not my deal. I'm fine with one or two, but like when it's like Perrin moving a dream spike to a queen and she's like, what are you doing here? That seems more like a penultimate scene. And having it like just halfway through the novel was a little weird when I'm like, this plotting wise, it feels weird that like there's a grandness to this final fight scene where you're getting people back together again and all of a sudden there's still more book to go. And I think that was a little bit of my problem. Like I kept hitting points where I'm like, I'm ready for this book to end now because it feels like it should. So I rated it 3 stars as well. I don't think this is a terrible book. I think I just had a lot of like bad moments with it. And my last hour was not listened to. I may have to go back and re-listen to it because I listened to it on a very loud train on my way home from vacation. So I didn't get to enjoy the Elfin and Elfin scenes as much as you did.
I feel like that was the best part, was the whole Maureen rescue situation. And that was the part I enjoyed the most. And I wish it would have been drawn out more. And I wish there was a lot less of the trial and all of the dumb white cloak stuff that just I don't care about.
It felt very Perrin and Elaine's family heavy. And those are the characters at this point I care the least about.
Same.
So it was just really hard to like listen to so much Perrin, to listen to so much Galad. And then Gawain was like your only break. And you're just like, I don't, and like, I enjoyed certain parts of this as like a formatting thing where I actually did like the Fael and Elaine scene because it's interesting to see characters we've been with for so long and other people interact with them and have different thought processes with them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but we don't get to see that very often because it's not well used. And so I do think it was way too much Perrin. The Elfin and Elfin parts were the most interesting. It's what the book was named after. Why was it only in the final chapters? Why was that?
I mean, we could ask that of Robert Jordan's many books as well, because he likes to leave things right for the end. So
it just was disappointing to me. I don't think this was a terrible book. I don't think it's Brandon Sanderson's fault. I do think he writes. It's the same thing as we talked about in the last book. He builds up a lot of stuff for very little payoff.
Right.
Like, and so the Elfin and Elfin was a good payoff because it's a whole like chapters and chapters of a fight scene that's interesting because they're looking through stuff. It is silly to see a triangle written on it and being like, that's how we enter. But
quick, make a little squiggle.
But like watching Perrin have to go on trial so we can learn Galad can't see things in black and white. I don't care if Galad sees things in black and white. He doesn't matter. I kept saying to Veronica this week in the Friends quote of it's moo. It's a cow's opinion. It doesn't matter. So the opinion is moo. It just doesn't matter to me. So I think that was where a lot of this book, I think parts of it were so excellently done. I just think a lot of other parts, I was like, why is this important to the overall plot? It just feels like it's, again, last book, I said it's a lot of writing exercises. So good overall. Just wish sometimes I wish male authors
parts.
just like throw out the trial. Doesn't need to happen. We don't need more gays being like, this is why I was queen to do this. Who the fuck cares? Let her marry Talon. I don't need 25 pages of Milne being created. Perrin's pretty much was set for books. I don't understand why we're setting him up in this book again. I don't understand why we had Bran go crazy in one book just to be exactly where he was in the next book. Just interesting choices.
Sure.
But I appreciate your 2.75 to 3.25, you said, or 3.5?
3.25. I could go anywhere within that range.
I think this is one of the better Wheel of Time books. That's a good way to end this. I think this is one of the better Wheel of Time books.
I think the Brandon Sanderson ones I've enjoyed a lot more than a lot of the Robert Jordan solo ones. So there's that.
I think we've mostly liked 1 through 5, and then we've liked Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
And here and there, one of us liked one more than the other one, but it's not consistent. So, but that's the plot. Next week, we will be going into the men of Towers of Midnight. I'm sure we'll have lots to say because we have
Pray for
Galad
us.
and Gawain entering the ring to hear so much more about them. Pray for us, as Laura said. And please rate, review, and subscribe. Rating and reviewing and subscribing is a great way to get us to reach out to new people and bring them in on this conversation. We love when you do that. We love when you reach out and you email us at owwrpod@gmail.com or reach out on Twitter and Instagram at our pod, or follow us on our personal bookstagrams. We say their names all the time. They're on our Twitters as well. So check us out and make sure you are voting in our indie intermission. We have some great books. We are well into round 2, and we should be getting through all of round 2 this week. And then we will be hosting the final vote on Monday.
I will just
next
say
week.
Though, all those people that voted for I Hunt, please listen to the podcast.
I mean,
There were so many of them.
And they
I was like, what? We only have like 30 people that listen to the podcast, but there's like over 100 that voted for this book. Woo!
I mean, people get into it, Laura. You get
I
a
know,
vote about people's
I
favorite
expect a lot of
book, and
downloads.
people come a running. So, make sure you're doing that.
I expect
and-
many downloads.
And download the podcast, guys, because obviously that's where we should say that at the end of the episode of the 13th
Download
book
all of
the
other
series
ones.
we're covering. Do it again, even if you've already listened to them. Download them again. Just do it. It'll be fun.
Tell your
Listen
friends.
to us. We're
Tell all the
great.
people that voted for I Hunt.
Yes, tell all the people who voted for I Hunt to listen to us and join us next week. Bye.
Bye.